I have been meaning to make a video about my parents for a long time now. A few years ago, before my mom passed away, I sat her down a few times and asked her some questions. You know, about the family, her life, her marriage, her kids, etc. and so forth. And yes, I asked the number one thing most kids ask their parents. How did you and Dad meet? My mother remembered it like it was yesterday. She even remembered the date.
Yeah, I met Dad on April the 22nd, 1944. It's really funny how I met him. When I first went over to UT, there were two girls that lived in our house. One was engaged to be married, and the other one was dating her roommate, John Phipps. And the minute they saw me, they said, "Oh, we know a lieutenant that looks just like you." And I looked at them and I thought, I don't want somebody that looks like me. And they kept saying, "We're going to bring him over, we're going to bring him over." And I said, "Oh, no, I don't do blind dates anymore." On April the 22nd, I had a date with someone who was down at Texas A&M and was coming up for the weekend. And he was in this program down there waiting to go to flight school. Well, of course, by this time we knew if someone called you and said, "Oh, we're not going to make it this weekend," they couldn't tell you where they were going or anything. But we'll call you later, so you knew they were on their way out somewhere.
So, that date didn't work out, but Mom had lots of suitors. At least according to her, she did.
And then I had been asked by a DKE that to go on a picnic in the afternoon. So I said, "Okay, I'll go." And I hate to tell you why I said I'd go, because the bum I went with, I wouldn't have given him the time of day. But there was a young man in the Deeks that I would like to meet. So I went. Well, the darn thing turned into a blanket party.
A blanket party? Like with blankets? What's a blanket party, Mom?
Well, you do a lot of courting, and I went about to court with this slob. So I told him, I said, "Oh, I didn't know it was going to last this long. I have a date." He said, "Oh, you don't?" I said, "Oh, yes, I do. I've got to get home." So he drove me home, and then he parked up the street to watch whether I had a date or not. Would you believe that slob? Gosh. And here I am. Duh. Well, I walked in the house, and Phipps and Oak Duke were standing there. They were waiting for their dates to go to the artillery ball. And they said, "You don't have a date tonight?" And I said, "No, I'm home." "Well, this lieutenant, his date got the flu. We're going to go get him, and you're going to go out with him." I said, "Oh, no, I'm not." And they said, "Oh, yeah, you got to go." And then I thought about that car parked down the street. So I said, "Okay, I'll go." So I went back and bathed and put on an evening dress.
So, my mother met my dad on a blind date. And since his date didn't work out, he did what most guys do when they're about to ship out for war. They go drinking.
Here are these two fellas standing there holding your daddy up. Your daddy had gone to a bar. And he was 3 sheets to the wind, really. He could hardly stand up. And they said, "We're going to give him some coffee when we get down there. It'll be okay, it'll be okay." So I thought, what have I gotten myself into?
Well, it appears that before my parents met that evening, my mom went to a blanket party and Dad went drinking.
He goes up and sits me down at the table with his general. I guess he went out to sober up a little bit or something, I don't know. I'm left sitting there. And they didn't know what to do with me either. Well, by the time I got home that night, I knew that was the man I was going to marry. But that's how I met your father. He was stationed at Camp Swift with the 102nd Ozark Division, the National Guard Division.
So what happened then? Did you get a second date, Mom? I'm assuming Dad called.
He called me. I knew he'd call me. And I never doubted. I never doubted it. But we had a little difficulty at the very end, so I thought I'd never hear from him again. Your dad had to go up to Fort Sill for some extra training or something. And he asked me to wait down in Austin till he came back. And I waited. And the phone rang. I had finished my exams. Frances was still there. She answered the phone, and she came back. She says, "Oh, that was Smitty." She said, "You know what? He asked me for a date." Whoa! I said, "No, he didn't." She said, "Yeah." She said, "I told him you'd gone home." That's what she told me, and he told me the same story. So, and he said when we found out that I'd gone, that he felt like, well, that was, I wasn't that interested.
Frances, your roommate? I almost didn't happen because of Frances? Holy smokes. Well, I know you guys got together again, otherwise I wouldn't be here. So when did you guys get together again?
Well, the war ended while he was on the ship coming back. And he came straight to Austin and called me. We even went home. So it was a whole year. And that time I thought, I'm going to let him know how I feel about him.
That's a wonderful idea, Mom. And there you have it. That is how my parents met. I wonder what my next video on my parents will be about. I didn't show up for another 10 years,